and the students themselves, and putting those manners in place, how you're expected to act, how you talk to another. And again, as we go through this, if you have some ideas, let us know. So I think back to 2004 when I was in my classroom and I was working on my national board certification. And one of the components of that was talking about how you make a classroom community. And I honestly couldn't even answer that question. I thought I had a good rapport, I think I was a good teacher, but I really didn't have any procedures that fostered those relationships. So I talked to a friend of mine who is my mentor, and she introduced me to the morning meeting book. And having a morning meeting. And this is going to look very different in different classrooms. Obviously, I was early childhood. It looks very different than older. I'll try to give some different adaptations for different grade levels. But we come in and do a morning meeting in our classrooms every day. I know some friends, my teacher friends, they did it Mondays, maybe and Fridays. They would begin the day and end the day with a morning meeting. But morning meetings are a great way to set a tone for respectful learning and establish a climate of trust that encourages children to take risks. You are going to push them farther than they've ever been pushed. You're going to ask them to do tasks that they've never tried to do before. And you need to have a classroom set up where they know that they're going to be supported no matter what. Fail, succeed, you're going to be there, and everybody will be there for them. The morning meeting addresses two human needs: the need to feel a sense of significance and belonging, and the need to have fun. So we would do some silly games in our morning meeting just to start the day off. Morning meetings merge social, emotional, and intellectual learning. As important as our academic learning is, that social and emotional aspect is also very, very important. And it can be difficult to put in your day, so this is a great way to do that. So these ideas are from the morning meeting book. Okay, so there are 4 elements to the morning meeting: greeting, sharing, group activity, and morning message. I will be honest with you, I feel like the greeting is very important, so I will show you because we're using names. In all honesty, when I had a time crunch, I didn't always get to every single piece. Sometimes group activity or something would go. But hopefully you try to do all of these. So we would start with a greeting. And the greeting sets a positive tone. It provides a sense of belonging and helps learn names, which is important for a classroom community, and practice hospitality. So in my classroom, my friends would come in, they would do all their jobs, they would sit around the perimeter of the carpet. I had a morning meeting leader that would facilitate this, so I would be a participant, but they would really be facilitating. When you greet, we do all different kinds of greetings. When you greet, use a friendly tone, you use the person's name, and you make eye contact. And I did put an asterisk on eye contact in that I know that some of our cultures do not make direct eye contact. And I think there's a difference between respectfully looking towards a person and looking all over the place and not even paying attention. So we talk about that. In our standards for ELA, speaking and listening is also an important standard, and this is a way that I set the stage for the respectful speaking and listening. So I would, Carrie, okay, I'm going to use Carrie because she's right up here by me. So I would say, good morning, Carrie, and I would model how I look at her. I used her name, I made eye contact. That makes her feel important because I was looking at her. Then I would model how it looks if I left one of those elements out. So if I say, good morning, Carrie, well, I looked at her, I said her name, but did I make her feel very important? It wasn't very respectful when I did that. So when you talk to people and you use that kind of voice, it's not respectful. Also, if I say good morning, Carrie, but I'm obviously paying attention to everything around me and not really her, it's not respectful either. And if I just say good morning, that's nice, but she's not really special because I didn't use her name. So we talk about using all those aspects in the greeting. Now, at the beginning of the year, I would just go around in the circle and have them say good morning to the person next to them, just till we get names going. And then we tend to start doing some silly games. Anybody know who stole the cookie from the cookie jar? There's a little poem, so we do who stole the cookie from the cookie jar? Sharon stole the cookie from the cookie jar. We make a little joke about how, oh, did I really steal the cookie from the cookie jar? And then we pass it, make sure everybody gets a turn, everybody gets their name. And these greetings are also in the handouts. Anybody done Willoughby Wallaby? Do you know that poem? It's in your handout, but it's one of our favorites. It really should be an elephant, but at the state permit, I was only allowed 1 bucket for my early childhood items, so I had to bring a little bear instead of my big elephant. But I would actually have the elephant, and it goes like this. It goes Willoughby Wallaby Woo, the elephant sat on you. Willoughby Wallaby Wee, the elephant sat on me. And then you go Willoughby Wallaby Wherein, the elephant sat on Sharon. And then you go around and have everybody do that rhyme. And then I would talk about when I say a word like wearing, isn't that kind of
I
silly?
didn't write it
And
down.
when you
I
laugh
looked
a
it
little
up.
bit, when you hear wearing,
I'll
yes.
send it to
Am I
you.
going to get my feelings hurt? Am I going to be upset when that happens? No, because we're just being silly together. I feel like that's an important self-regulation skill because you have those friends that tattle on everything they feel is a personal attack on them. I mean, when, you know, you could just be saying anything and they think it's a personal attack. So really talk about, think about it. Is that person trying to hurt your feelings, or are we just being silly? So during the greeting time, sometimes we're just silly. Another example I have during greeting time is I have these cards, and you wouldn't have to have these cards, but these have hellos from all different languages. So instead of saying good morning when that gets pretty routine, we might pick a different language. And we would say hello to our friend in a different language. So I might have the a map of the world on my board or on my smart board, and then we talk about where that was, and we have to try to pronounce it and practice it, and then we'd say good morning. I'm using that. So we do different greetings every day. In my class, because I had a smart board, if you have a Promethean board or something, I had the interactive dice tool, and I had 6 greetings on it, and then the leaders pushed the dice, and then the greeting came up, and that's what we did. You could also have them, pick greeting out of a basket or something. If you're older, we had talked in some sessions, if you teach older kids, you could pass out like facts cards. You could have the answer and the facts, and they could find their partner and say good morning, states and capitals, something like that. But the morning greeting is very important. It helps bring, especially those shy kids that tend to like to fade into the background, it brings them in. And for my most difficult children, this really helps them because they're the leader and they get recognized, and sometimes they don't really get that at home. They're not important. They don't have people that speak nicely to them. So this is very important. Any other thoughts, ideas on with that? So we would come in, we sit in our circle, we do our greeting, and then the next part is the sharing. Now, you can do this a few different ways. The sharing develops your communication skills, you gain knowledge of others. It's amazing how some of our friends don't realize that you eat spaghetti at your house for dinner just like I eat spaghetti at my house for dinner. I mean, they just don't realize those differences and similarities. Or that you're really good at something I wanted to try. And so that helps bring them together. It helps them gain knowledge of others, practice speaking in a group. It strengthens vocabulary skills, encourages reading and writing success, builds confidence. We know that students who are able to articulate complete sentences are the ones that will be able to write complete sentences. So we also talk about this during the sharing time. We always speak in complete sentences. In my room, my leader was the person that shared. If you don't do that every day, some of my teachers had a sign-up sheet. So on these days when you would like to sign up, just kind of depends how much time you have and what works for you for your room. Here was a technique that works well for us that I wanted to share with you. If you're in pre-K or kindergarten, you may just be working on one complete sentence or a complete sentence and maybe one detail to go with it. I was in first grade and we would use this model. This was our introduction and then 3 details and then our conclusion. So I might say something like, I went to Nashville on vacation, we went to the Grand Ole Opry, we stayed in a hotel, we went shopping. They have a little trouble in my classes with the conclusion. So I would have them either restate their favorite part or give an opinion. We had fun on our vacation. So we would practice that. And then when we were writing, we could use the same model. So when we're writing, we could say, okay, now remember during sharing time we have an introduction and here are our details. And if you're older, each one of those details could actually be a paragraph or something like that. So this is how we use sharing time as a basis for our reading and writing. When the student that's sharing, or make sure that all students have a chance to share. On a regular basis, students use clear voices, stay on topic using details. We're using complete sentences. Your audience, you're practicing appropriate audience skills. The rest of the friends are sitting there, they're listening appropriately, they're not playing, they're showing the person that's sharing that they are important and being respectful. They use and respond with an appropriate question or comment I call them. I let them call in 3 friends. They had to ask a question. The question had to be about the topic that was being discussed because you know, especially with young children, you're talking about a national trip and they're asking why you wore a red shirt that day or something random. So we try to stay on topic. And also I make my friends use an open-ended question. They can't just say, did you have fun? They have to ask, what was your favorite part? Why did you like that? And then the person that's sharing has to answer in a complete sentence. Even if they ask, what is your favorite color, they have to say, my favorite color is whatever. So we really work on those oral language skills during that time. So we've done our greeting, we've done our sharing. I want to show a picture of one of my friends, because you can tell, what does she love to do?
Ride horses.
She was so shy. Just bless her heart. She wouldn't ask me a question unless it was a dire emergency. If I tried to engage her, it was a one-word, two-word answer. You all probably had a student like that. She struggled. School was not easy for her. So, she tried very hard, but it was a struggle. During the morning meeting, I learned that she rides horses. She was very talented, had won a lot of awards. I hope I would have figured that out otherwise, but I'm not sure that I would have, or I don't know if I would have so quickly because she didn't talk to me. I remember doing informational writing, and I was able to pull that in. It was hard. She was intimidated by the fact that I wanted to write a whole page full of sentences and words, and so we started talking with the horses. Hey, if you just tell me how you ride a horse, and then all of a sudden, it opened up. She opened up. She started writing about horses. We were getting diagrams of all the different, I don't actually like live animals, but all the different parts of, saddles and all those different things. And she was talking about all the different ways you ride a horse. And we learned so much from her, and it really helped her gain confidence. So this is one way that this procedure of the morning meeting has impacted learning. It made her feel confident in herself because I used her interests. Also, you might notice on her lap is a bear. Again, you can do a pet too, but live animals are not my thing. So our class had a class stuffed animal, and this might just be an idea for you. At the beginning of the year, I used to steal my girls' stuffed animals when they got older, but we ran out. So I just took a picture of the 3 cheapest bears at Build-A-Bear or whatever. And then on Meet the Teacher, they got to vote for which bear they wanted to be the class bear, and then they found out what it was going to be on the first day, and we named it, and they went in a backpack with a journal with a new friend every single night, and they wrote about it, and we read it during our morning meeting. So this was that year. This was our bear Champ. Champ went to riding lessons with her, and I got this picture, and then she wrote about what she did. So just an idea. The next part, after we've done our greeting, our sharing time, a little group activity. For my class, the group activity tended to be our little bear, our stuffed animal. But I'll give you some other options. It encourages a sense of community. It's an active participation. It encourages cooperation and inclusion. I had special needs friends that would come to my classroom just for this because they needed social interaction. They needed work, they needed to work with, interacting with others. It allows for varying abilities, and it reinforces learning. So here's my classroom. We were simply singing a continent song because it was in mapping units. Not very difficult. I have the map on the board. We're singing the song. You can see them doing, this is how my classroom was. Loud, active, moving. So you could do a poem, a song. So I have some games that I like to use that were very simple, didn't take a lot of tools. Mystery number, we would have the leader or someone pick a number, and then the other friends would have to, guess what the number was, and they'd have to say, oh, it's greater than that, or it's less than that. We'd pick a number. Matchups, like I said before, I would maybe hand out rhyming cards, and they would have to find their rhyming partner, facts cards, whatever you're working on. They would find their partner, and then when everybody found a partner, they'd tell the class, what their match was. Anybody ever play the game Headbands? It's a very cheap little game at Walmart. You wouldn't have to get the game, but it has headbands, and you can put a card in the front. We played. There what?
An app on your phone.
Oh, that's right, because my kids, I think, sorry, I mentioned that. No, there is a Headbands app on your phone. My kids play that too. But I would put a sight word in there, a vocabulary word. It might be a picture related to an aspect of the story we were talking about, like a character from the story. And then they would have to ask questions to figure out what it was because they couldn't see what was on their head. So that was just a way to bring in skills that we were learning that week. Acted out, favorite, just a charades game. I think I came up with that when I wasn't, oh, I know what it was, nobody was, you know, you just have those times when nobody's engaged with anything you've planned for that day. So like, let's just start acting things out. So I pulled up a vocabulary card and I would hold it up in front of me and I'd have everybody act it out, then I'd have to guess what it was. So we just did group time. Again, if there's something that I didn't get to during the day, game, I would sometimes put it in this time, a song or chant or something simple. So we've done our greeting, we had our person share, we asked some questions, we did a song, a little game, and then we would transition into our day with a morning message. This is a great time to share and discuss upcoming events, transition into your classroom day, reinforces language and math skills in a meaningful way. I'd use this really as my daily review, so those daily review sheets that I used to give, I would integrate those into a morning message. It can include calendar activities if you're younger, classroom jobs, lunch menu, daily routines. We talk about our specials for the day, our lunch for the day. Here's an example of something that I might have. Keep this pretty simple. It's in a letter form, a rhyme within a letter form, so they're learning parts of the letter. If you teach younger grades, it would take all day long to write that date. So I would just, all day. So I would just pull out one element of the date, or if you're very young pre-K, you might even take out the first letter. So, okay, today is Tuesday, and you might just be talking about the beginning letter. If you're older, that might not be a problem for you at all, and you would have them write the date. Maybe write their name, how old. I like sentences like her favorite color is blank because, and I would have the leader, they would be writing it, and we'd be talking with the class about how do you spell that word, and we need to make a space, and those types of procedures. When I taught kindergarten, I had a sentence, I had one leader every day, so it would take us, 25 days to get through the whole class, and every time we went through the class, I would make the sentence frame just a little more complicated or open-ended, so they would all start with something simple. Then when I got through everybody and we started again, I'd make it a little more open-ended, and through the year to where they were really writing the sentence on their own. You could put in content vocabulary, learning about plants. Plants talk about that. I read a blog where this teacher just had one morning message for the entire week. She wrote it on Friday. On Monday, they corrected mistakes. On Tuesday, they looked at the sight words. Wednesday, they did vocabulary, and then they would practice it. So if that is easier for you to manage in your classroom, you could do more of a weekly morning message. Okay, so that would be our morning meeting. A wonderful way to build those oral language skills, manners, social, emotional. You've done your greeting, you've shared, you've done a little activity together, and you've done your morning message before you go into your day. Anybody have any questions or ideas, anything coming to your brain?
How much time do you spend on this?
When we get procedures done, it's about 15 minutes. Just kind of depends. When I taught first grade, we really had to move on to the next thing. So I would shorten some of these aspects. When I taught kindergarten, for some reason, it seemed like I had a little more time to do a circle time, so I made it a little longer. But it was about 15 minutes.
I guess I missed, I guess I thought you let everyone share every day.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I, in my classroom, only had the leader share.
Okay.
Or if in your classroom, just depending on how it works, I know that I had some teachers that would have 1, 2, 3, and they would sign up for a time of the week. But no, we just shared, I just had one person share a day. Unless
That
it
would
was
take
after a break. I'm sorry.
24 children.
No,
would
right.
take them.
The only time I let everybody share is if we had just gone on Christmas break or something like that, and then I might say, give me one thing you did. But no, we would have, the leader would choose the greeting, and they knew it. I taught all the procedures. I had a bucket of all my things like this so that they could just grab what they needed. They'd start the greeting. Sometimes they would start the greeting while I'm kind of organizing folders. They would share, answer some questions. We'd move into our little group activity or song. We'd read through the morning message, and we'd move into our next. And again, if you're really pressed for time and maybe you can't do an activity or something like that, just pick. I do feel like the greeting has really been the most beneficial part of this, just knowing everybody's names and really talking to each other with respect. So that was my presentation on atmosphere of respect, building that classroom community. And then you have to have your behavior and learning expectations. So we created our classroom rules together as a group. I did read some research that said as the teacher you should just tell your kids the rules. The rules. I feel that that was the most beneficial. I did have one teacher in a session where whatever program they were using, they had specific rules that everybody used, and she worked with her class to come up with a creed. So, doing something where the class has some buy-in gives them ownership. So creating classroom rules together gives them ownership, and make sure you tell them why the rules are vital for the classroom to be effective. I would use a book like David Goes to School, or has anybody ever read the story The Day the Monster Came to School? That's a very old story, but if you go to YouTube, or kind of running out of time, so I'm not going to read it to you. If you go to YouTube or even Teachers Pay Teachers and type in The Day the Monster Came to School, there's a story that will come up, and it's about a monster that comes to school, wreaks havoc throughout the whole day, makes everyone miserable because he doesn't know the rules. The teacher finally asks the monster to leave, and he starts to cry. And he says, I really want to be here, I just don't know, I didn't know that what I was doing was against the rules. So as a class, they decide that they're going to come up with the rules, and if the monster will follow the rules, he can stay in the class. So I would read that to my class so we could discuss why rules were important. I think it's a good story to illustrate how when we have friends that struggle with academics, we teach them, but sometimes when they struggle with behavior, we punish them. So it is important to make sure that if they're struggling with behavior, you're trying to teach them the right way to do it. Now sometimes they know the right way and they're defiantly not doing it, and I get that too. But just make sure, I know that I've had some kids and their home is chaotic. They don't exactly know how they're supposed to act in a school situation. So it is important to demonstrate that. So after you've set a foundation for why the rule is important, if you teach an older grade, we had discussed in another session maybe having them write a story about what would happen if there were no rules in your classroom. What would that look like? So really quickly, because you've been listening to me, everybody just write down and think about what do you think are the 4 most important rules in a classroom?
What's the card for notes?
Oh, the card at the end, you can use it for notes. If you want to tell me 3 things you've learned and a question you still have just for my own feedback so I can make it better, but if you need it for notes, that's fine. So what would be 4 of the most important rules? Okay, so somebody give me one. Respect, be safe, responsible. Anybody have a different one? Follow directions. And I was going to mention, I've noticed that when we do it as a class, follow directions and listen to the teacher don't usually come up. So I do add that one in. They don't all, or you have little Susie who will always say, follow the teacher. What was yours in the back?
You can't say you can't play.
Oh, that's a good one. So you can't.
You can't say you can't play.
So if I come up to you and want to play, you're not allowed to say you can't play with me. Okay, very good.
It's also good by living in Haley.
If you can't say you can't play.
You can't say you can't play. And is that what the book is called? Okay, and so there's a book, and I haven't seen that one, but that would be good. So it's called You Can't Say You Can't Play. Okay, that's a good book, thank you. My point there is even if you're working with your class to make rules, those are almost always your rules. Be safe, be responsible, be respectful, follow the teacher. Make sure that your rules in your class are clear. Everybody understands what they mean. They're complete. If you have a friend not doing the right thing, you should be able to tie it to one of your rules. And then consistent. You're able to enforce in all situations. We had been joking. There are days it's probably happened to you, it's definitely happened to me, where I just let Johnny sit under his chair and cut that paper to little scraps because I couldn't take it. And for the safety of us all, I think that happens. That being said, trying to be consistent, and especially those difficult students, even though they push you, they really want you to hold them accountable for their behavior. So keep working on that one. But consistency can be difficult for some friends. And again, I know there are moments where it's just too much, but try to be consistent with your rules. I want to show you this. I don't know if anybody was in the RSA session, but on the State Department, we have a program called OTIS, which is, and I'm going to give the S's, it's Oklahoma Tiered Intervention, I think it's Support Systems. I thought it was Systems of Support, but I think it's Support Systems. But they have the RTI model, but they also have a model called PBIS. Does anybody use PBIS? Do you guys, okay, you might be able to expand on what I'm saying, and I know there's a model school, I think in Edmonds. I think Rogers is a model school. Okay, I don't know the names of all of them, but anyway, they have a system called PBIS. This is how we did it, this is just scratching the surface, but you can go to Otis, and if you wanted more training on this, the grant that they have, as long as they continue to get money for the grant, they could train your teachers on it. But we had Pride, so, and what, did you guys have a rule like that, or the 3 R's or something? Okay, but it talks about having a school-wide word or the 3 R's that's consistent in your school. In ours, it was pride. So in every area of the school, it was P is prepared, R is respectful, I is integrity, D is discipline, and E is efforts. And in our classroom, this is how my friends defined those words. So in our class, prepared meant be ready, respectful be nice, integrity means do the right thing, even when no one's watching, discipline means use self-control, and effort means try your best. And I had those words, I just typed them out, and I would put them in frames along the wall, so it spelled out pride. And I actually had my friends take a dry erase marker and sign this to show that they agreed with the rules and that they were going to follow them. So if they weren't doing the right thing, I would say, can I say your names here with the rules because you said you would follow them? I think that gave them some accountability. So, and then this poster right here, and I don't have an example of it up here, but you're welcome to come take a picture of it. Here were our pride words. In the first column, this is how pride was shown in my classroom. And this is how pride was shown in all the other areas of the school. So we had bathroom pride rules, cafeteria, hallway, playground, and arrival and dismissal. And so that looked the same for everybody. Again, this is how my friends defined it, but this was the same for all of the school. Another aspect of this, oh, go ahead.
Can you, when you upload whatever onto the website, can you include a copy of that?
Yes, I will try. I will say this was my principal's creation. I don't know if I really asked her, but she likes me. But anyway, and you guys can also, she was gonna get all these phone calls. People on the tree, and I was like, oh yeah, I presented this. But anyway, and you can also take a picture of that. I'm sure she wouldn't care. It really worked very well for us. We were changing.
You can see right there, that's for sound effect.
Yes, is this the whole school? Is that? That's kind of what I was
That's what it
wondering.
looks like.
Okay, is this, okay,
Looks
yeah,
like it's the whole
so this is probably a similar situation where they
Right.
they have paths for everyone. Wolf pack, right. So that helps keep it consistent for everyone. We had Piedmont Pride at our school. Another aspect of this that I found very helpful as a teacher was, you know, the first day, we're about to talk about procedures, and the first day as a teacher, you have so many procedures to teach. You're teaching all your classroom procedures, and then you take, we call it a school tour, you go to every spot at the school, you talk about all those procedures. By the time I went home, I'd forgotten about 10 of them. Somebody got in trouble the next day because Miss Morgan forgot to tell them where to put the spoon. That's just kind of, I don't know if anyone else had that problem, but I did have that problem. So one thing that we did was we would have a non-classroom teacher teach the procedures in all of the different areas of school. So I would be in my classroom teaching my procedures, and we had a schedule, which it took up more time than if I did it, but it was helpful. So I would go to the cafeteria, and my principal would teach the cafeteria rules, and she was doing it for every single class in the school. And then I would go to the bathroom, and somebody else would teach them the bathroom, and then we'd go to the hallway and the playground. That way, the same person was teaching the procedures for the areas outside of your room to every single kid in the school, and it helped keep it more consistent. Everybody had the same rules, because I don't know, I mean, we were great teachers, but so, I mean, one teacher, you would line up with 3 whistles, and one teacher, it would be 2 whistles, or, I mean, you know, that's just your procedures. So this way, everybody was on the same page for all the different areas outside of the classrooms. So, and it also kind of, it took the pressure off me that I had to think about all those different areas. So that's just an idea. Again, and the PBIS system, and I'm just scratching the surface, but it's similar to RTI in that, I know, I'm sorry. Hold on, I'm getting ahead of myself. So those are our rules. So now, here I think is the hard part, is the responding to the rules. Now, here's my journey here. I started out 18 years ago using color cards, which some teachers use very effectively, so if you use them and they work for you, that's fine. But what would happen is, Susie was a really good kid, and she was messing up that day, and I didn't really want to change her color card and devastate her, because I knew she was a good kid. I really didn't want to tell mom and dad necessarily that we were having a bad day. So what happened was I just didn't change the color card. You know, I would just do something different. Well, that was really undermining my own system that I had set up at the beginning of the year. So then the clip chart came out. And oh, I love the clip chart. And again, I don't use it anymore, but teachers use that clip chart very well. And if you don't know what a clip chart is, they clip in the middle. They can go up, they can go down. It helps because they can redeem themselves. So if you need to give so-and-so a warning, they can move back up. You know, you want to get them to the top. Down at the bottom is going to the office. So that's a great system, but for me, I forgot to clip up all the time. I don't know if anybody else has that problem, but at the end of the day, would come and I'd be like, I can't clip anybody up. And I would try to tell them, it's a great day when everybody's in the middle, because I wasn't even thinking about behavior. But the reality is, I just forgot. And the parents were wondering, why didn't I get up to the top? And they were like, well, because I was teaching and I didn't remember. And then, you know, the kids who were doing a really good job, they didn't catch my attention, so I wasn't clipping them up. So that was what I had struggles with the clip chart. So we started, part of our PBIS, we started handing out tickets. So we had pride tickets, and so they would do, if they did a good job to kind of train them, I would give out pride tickets. Well, similar thing happens. I forgot to give out the pride tickets. So it's time to redeem tickets. We don't have any tickets. Oh, this is where I forgot, or sometimes I'd realize and I'd be like, there's no pride tickets. You know, and again, that's not how the program was set up. So if you're having any of those same struggles, I gave each one of my little friends a coin, and we had top secret numbers in our class. So if you were student number 2 or whatever, I gave you 3 coins with your number on them, so that we couldn't take other people's coins. And they would keep them in a little bag in their desk. And then if they didn't do a good job, I would say, okay, give me a coin. Just very quietly, they get a coin out. They had a little box that they would put it in. And at the end of the day, they got the same number of tickets as coins that they had left. So if they were doing a good job, I knew that they got 3 tickets. If they'd had some struggles, they might not get as many. I also passed out tickets throughout the day as I remembered for good behavior, but that way I was guaranteed they would at least get something if they did a good job that day. So I don't know if you're more with it than I was, you might not forget those things, but I really would be teaching and pulling my groups and I'm doing this and I'm RTIing and this, that, and the other, and I would just forget. So that might be a strategy that works. On Thursdays, we would have binders that had rewards like this, which is put on Teachers Pay Teachers, all events that I didn't have to pay for, and they could use their tickets to purchase privileges in class. It could be not wearing shoes one day, wearing a hat, bringing a stuffed animal, all the way up to having lunch with the teacher. Some teachers that I've talked to in my sessions, they have school-wide rewards that they can purchase. Our principal had a drawing where if you had extra tickets or you wanted to put 1 or 2 in the drawings, every Friday she would draw somebody from each grade level to have a little special treat. You could have markers. I had special pens that they could use. As a first grade teacher, I did these in 10s, so they could buy things for 10, 20s, and 30s. So that really helped them with their math because they knew I had 8 tickets, needed 2 more to get something. If you were older, you might do by 5s, something a little more complicated. So that's how we did that. But what I was saying before in PBIS, it's a tiered system. So for the most part, hopefully in your class, most kids will respond to the tickets and that type of thing. Then you're going to have a group that doesn't. And we worked with interventionists. We worked with a counselor and special needs teacher and our principal to develop some extra procedures for those students that this didn't work for. So I would have maybe a little strip on their desk, and if they needed extra reminders, I would make check marks. And for every check mark, they would do a lap for me at recess or something like that because they needed a little extra. And then, of course, you've got your really severe kids. And when we had really severe kids, we worked with a team, the principal of special needs, a counselor, to come up with a specific plan for those kids. Because obviously, when you have those kids, color cards and clip charts and that type of thing, they just don't work for those kids. I mean, tickets are great and that's good, but they usually need the day broken down into pieces or something to that effect. So anyway, again, there's some cards up here. If you're interested in that, you can go to Otis on the website and they can do trainings or answer questions, but that was just kind of an overview of how we handle that. Anybody have any other great, think of anything? And then finally, as we wind up, we've built our classroom community. We've got good manners going. We know everybody's names. We're working together as a community. We've got those behavior learning expectations. And then finally, an important aspect of classroom management is those classroom procedures. So classroom procedures, routines, and expectations must be taught explicitly, or taught, modeled, and practiced on the first day of school. Never assume that the students know the procedures. This is one of my little friends who I love, but he was very bright, and if I didn't teach a procedure well, I knew it because he was doing the wrong thing. You know what I mean? He'd be like, well, you didn't say that, or something to that. Oh, you're right, I didn't teach that well enough, so we don't know what to do, but very sweet. I don't know if any of you use Daily 5, but they have the 10 steps to independence. And for my classroom procedures, I kind of modified it. So if you have a procedure, like we're gonna turn in our papers, in this basket. So you're gonna identify what you're gonna do. So we're gonna turn in papers here. You're gonna set the purpose. Why are we doing that? Well, Mrs. Morgan needs to look at your papers before they go home. So we're gonna put our papers in here when you're finished with them, so Mrs. Morgan can look at them. And I'm gonna show you this sheet. This sheet up here with the why. I wouldn't do this for every single classroom procedures, but we did put it up in different areas of the classroom for centers. So we're gonna write down. Okay, so first you're finished with your paper. Then you're gonna get up. You're gonna quietly put it in the basket, and then you'll move back to your seat. Then pick 2 or 3 friends to show you how to do that correctly. Okay, show me how you do it. You've got your paper, and they'd walk up and you really praise them. Good job. I like it. We didn't disrupt anyone. We put the paper right in the basket and sat back down. Then choose a few friends. This is the best part. To do it the wrong way. Okay, who is going to show me how we should not be doing it? And you always get all kinds of fun and theatrics when we're doing this. We're throwing the paper, we're ripping it to pieces, we're being loud, we're touching. And then talk about why that was not the right way to do it. And then practice. If possible, have every single friend in your class come up and do it. Again, if it was just a smaller procedure like pencils or something like that, I wouldn't do this, but I had a great friend who was good at computer graphics and had a husband that was the owner of a print shop, so that was really a bonus for a teacher. But we would put the classroom procedure, like this is our writing center, working on writing, and we would write, why are we even doing that? Why do we even have a writing center in our classroom? Well, how is that helping us? And then we would record the responses, and we write down what the student should be doing at that center and what the teacher would be doing. So if it was working on writing, why? So we can be better writers, also better readers, because it helps us with our words, with our spelling. Students might be sitting quietly, they're working on their writing, they're doing their best job. The teacher might be walking around to help, the teacher might be working in a small group, but wherever your writing center is, I would have that posted so we could go over that, especially the first couple of weeks of school. You know, remember, we're gonna work on writing. Why are we doing this? What should you look like? What is the teacher doing? This would be one for iPads, so we have technology. We talked about why we even use technology. In our class, it was to make projects or to practice our learning. What is the student doing? They're handling the iPads with care. They're on the app they're supposed to be on. They're doing the right thing. They're playing. The teachers walking in to help, working with a small group. So that was a way that we did procedures. That template right there is in the handouts. And then also in your handouts, I just made a list of all the beginning of the year classroom procedures that I could possibly think of. Every single little thing that you're doing in your classroom, you want to make sure they know exactly how to do it. Also, I read a blog that said anything you don't like to do as a teacher, try to make a procedure so they have to do it. If the students are working, if you're working harder than your students, you're doing something wrong. So get them to work and make sure that they're doing their procedures. Okay, here are the handouts. If you have a QR reader, you could also scan those.
If you have
I also have some other books over here. I really like Todd Parr. I got to listen to him at the National First Grade Conference last year. He has some great books about it's okay to make mistakes, it's okay to be different that we would read. Anybody have any other questions or? If you have that card and you want to write down 3 things you learned and maybe a question you still have that might be helpful for me to add in this presentation. Otherwise, that was all I had. You're welcome to come up.
You have to
If
do
you
it yourself.
want some information about Otis, you can come up and get some of these cards.
And it's still cool though, when you go through and scan, but that was very upset that there's no print.
So, you just go up there and scan that and it'll, what does it do? Just download all? Well, I do. So, I just downloaded it. How did you get that? You just go to the place.
I'm staying in here for this one. Are you staying in here for this one, Shelley?
Yeah, I had it. It's early childhood standards. It's early childhood standards.
You guys want to? Oh, sorry. You guys want to move up by me? Then you're in the front row. You want to move up by me?
Is Pocket coming this one?
I don't know.
Andy, I don't know if it's
I even made a bunch of these.
From what? I brought nuts. Is that an outfit from? I ordered another one. I just don't have it.
I know, I'm worried that I got those slides. I looked at all the.
What's that? What's that shirt?
Oh my gosh.
All right. That's what I ordered. Extra large and tall and curvy.
I would buy the size chart.
That's what I did too.
Yeah, was that pretty?
I like that idea. Yeah, and I think Miss Wilson should be the one to do the
But I'm very short.
Mine's not worried about shortness. Mine's roundness.
And somebody that they're gonna listen
The
to.
front is down.
Right. I think Miss Wilson should be the one to do that. Maybe like,
Yeah, and that's what I don't want. I didn't know what size. I didn't know what size. So I did order everything else.
That's why I like that stuff.
or on the playground and then back.
Yeah. I was just wondering on the shirt.
How long does it take to get it?
Normally it doesn't sound like very long. But with her sick. Now, is that Molly's? Is that Molly's daughter name? Early childhood standards. I thought she had taken her and placed her.
The invoice wasn't on there, and I couldn't look at it.
Well, and then I said, if you have a problem, if it shows an error, let me know. So we'll take it through it. Darn, I showed an error.
I was gonna take,
Yes.
if this one
So I don't know if it
was assessments for new standards, that might be different for you guys for the main
mine was there and I went on.
I think we have that one marked, don't we?
I don't know if it was because
I think we
my
have that one marked.
mailing
Is it for
address,
the afternoon? Is it
shipping address,
for now.
credit card.
This is early childhood right now.
Yeah, I think
This is assessments for new standards, it's right now, this time of year.
yeah, see, that's the one we can choose between, assessments or Oklahoma.
You made them Capri?
Well,
So how do we get that
Oh,
saved?
you might want to go to that from an academic for ELA.
When you took a picture of it, or you got it in your scanner?
I just took a picture, it's on my phone.
So what did you do?
Oh, I don't have that.
Hey,
Hey, Ryan.
they were very nice.
Okay. Okay, so it says, okay.
Where'd you get that?
Ag in the classroom.
I'm not too sure if Kathy did do any other.
I thought about doing doing that, but then I wanted to go to the TLE, and it really wasn't. Basically, it's everybody's gonna have to listen. Everybody's gonna have to get reevaluated this year. But starting this year, if you get a highly effective or superior, it can be 3 years before she has to evaluate again. Highly effective or superior, she only has to evaluate you the next 3 years. She doesn't have to evaluate for 3 years. Hey.
Yeah, we got to
I taught for
All right, Ryan, you're the tech person. So we signed that, we got it hooked up because we want all this.
Just in case, so that she don't give it up. I texted her.
Sorry.
Seriously, you guys listen to
kind of a long story.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying,
Save it to your bookmark, or you can just save it to your web, save the web page.
So how do I access Alicia?
She's not her, she's special ed.
Right here.
Doing it.
But it's, when I get out,
Okay, so add it to the bookmark, and then
Hey.
you're on the
Oh,
internet.
Candy.
too.
Okay. Is everybody here today?
Whenever, as soon as you get something,
Underbird's all here. First is all here. How exciting.
I was trying to find bookmarks without being on the
Oh,
Third.
yeah.
Third.
Okay, so I'm supposed to scan that.
Yeah.
We're asking if everybody's here. Third. McGlass in here?
Let me move my stuff out
No,
of your way.
this
Are
is,
you sure?
it's,
That one's it? Which one is it?
Either one.
Well, it's up here.
So anyway, that was one of my keys.
Oh, wait, I guess I got these two.
It should be free.
Oh, yes.
I know that was really elementary, but I'm early child.
There's Shauna.
That's where my brain goes. But I was fun, and I was getting my screen making, and I was like, she's like, well, it's a standard PowerPoint that we have. So I wrote this whole PowerPoint. Early child nursing, students for special needs. Like with this kid, this little girl just being taken away. I didn't really get a response. I did one again, like in this session.
I was
I
able to
gave
save it for Tasha, but now I
just can't say anything without them. They just keep like this.
Yes.
So we have that. So anyways, yes, nice to meet you. I was so glad. So you're here tomorrow. Is Elizabeth? She's in tomorrow. Okay. So I'm not here today. You scan that tomorrow.
you are and I was trying to save it. I don't know how to save it.
Okay, that was for the last session, and I'm so sorry.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I'm chatting. But that's okay, I mean, that was
Hers is different. Like hers
You have
is
iPhone?
I was like, I did hers, but I
Okay,
didn't
here's the slide for the standards. This is the PowerPoint, and these are the handouts, which I'll show you in just a minute. I also have
Yeah.
Okay.
Will you read that after just a second?
Yeah.
That is the PowerPoint and that's the handouts.
Yes, the left one is the PowerPoint, the right one is the handout. Then they will be on the website, but.
Oh, I don't have that now, but I have one.
Yeah, a few. My stomach was kind of getting sick a while ago.
Don't open your drink for a while.
Thank you.
Be careful that they don't have
Yeah.
these ones my grandma did.
Cards sitting around. Wait, I'm gonna pass this around. This is just a sign-in sheet. This is for, is that a blank one? If you find cards, and I'm sure I pushed them down and I can't find them. I was asking everyone if you wanted to write 3 things you learned and a question you still had, just so I could add that into my presentation. So if you see those cards, you can use them. I'm gonna send around a sign-up sheet. This is just for me. I'm new to the State Department, so I'm just trying to make connections. So this doesn't have anything to do with the state, but if you would like to sign it, so this session is Oklahoma Academic Standards for Early Childhood, and I'm going to give you a few resources, and then I'm going to kind of let you guys help me set the agenda for today. You're starting school, I just need to know what you need, what you need with the standards.
Cool. Brought us. They went to somewhere else. Yeah, that's what they just said.
And there's the handouts and a QR code if that's easier. So I wanted to just tell you what was in the handouts. I'm going to show you, there's an ELA OK Teachers website that has English language arts help and information. This is on there. Basically, you put your unit or your essential question, books that you'll read, writing that you'll do, and then it has all the standards around there, so you can pull out all the different skills for the standards. This one is just an explanation of that. That particular format does not work very well for my early childhood brain, so I redid it. So this is what this looks like, and here's a big poster of it. So you would put your unit here, and it has speaking and listening. To me, it gets more complicated. So you have speaking and listening, vocabulary, foundations and processes, critical thinking, multimodal research language, down to independent reading and writing, and you put your reading and your writing down here. Also, because we are early childhood people and we're doing centers and lots of activities, I made a center planning sheet. So if you're pulling out those standards, here's a sheet with different centers on it, so you could write what you might pull up with the standards. So this year, as we're implementing, that might be a good planning tool for you. To keep, if you can think of another way that it could be reconfigured or that would help you out, just let me know and I will try to rework it and send it out. Also, I made a blank one so you can personalize it for yourself, whatever centers work for you. So that is what is in the handouts. Just really quickly, the presentation that I put together really has to do with ELA and math because those are our newest standards, but I want to just emphasize that I am a big believer in integrating all subjects, which I think we do pretty well as early childhood people. So I just want to make sure that you know where the standards are for the different subjects. So if you go to the website, at some point,
So
will
this
say
was
standards.
This is recording.
Okay, so down here, it says Oklahoma Academic Standards. The social studies standards are not on there because they've been around for a couple of years. So if you go to services and instruction, it has all the different areas. If you do science, social studies, you can get all of the standards. Also, I wanted to point out, here is the ELA OK Teachers website, which is mostly run by Josh Flores, who is our secondary ELA. He actually has podcasts on here for some of the different standards. I will say he is secondary, so sometimes he talks about bundling, and we already really do that pretty well, is what I tell him, because we know how to integrate. But he does those. And then right here, okay, click here. Here are the very first drafts of the curriculum frameworks writers who have actually been writing lesson plans to go with the different standards, so you can see what those look like. These are the very first drafts. They're working on doing drafts for all the different standards, but For example, if you click on early childhood, this one's pre-K and K, and you can do, here's a unit on kindergarten. Has your goals, your questions, the evidence, so what you want them to do at the end, and then here, your lesson plan sequence. So if you would like to look at that, go to the ELA OK Teachers website. We would love to have feedback from you about what's working, what's not working. Another part of this that I think is helpful is we have parent companions, and this is parent information about the standards. So that might be helpful for you to look at if you're trying to communicate with your parents about the standards. Again, first drafts of these, any feedback that you can give us would be wonderful, but that is a resource for you.
Sharon, can you go back and show us again where they were at to get to that page?
Yes, okay, so we're on ELA OK Teachers. And here are some of the framework writers who have been writing these lesson plans, spending a lot of time this summer. You can click here, or you can check out the first drafts of the curriculum frameworks and share your feedback. But if you go to that, you're gonna go to the Google Drive. Early childhood is pre-K and K, and then there's early elementary, which I think is first and second. And then we have the parent companion, general routines, those types of things. So I just wanted everyone to know that as we begin implementation, that's what we're working on the website. Hopefully this year we'll have links so you can go to the different standards and see those things. Okay. Any other questions about that one? Let me make sure. Alright, sorry about that. I was trying to get it back. Okay, so those are some resources. Now, we're going to do a Foursquare activity. So, you all done Foursquares in your classroom. So I'm going to put something in a different corner, and you figure out which one applies to you, and then you're going to go to that corner. So, when I'm thinking about the standards, here's my favorite clip art. I just don't think you can have an early childhood classroom without clip art like this. So when I think about the standards, number one, I'm thinking, oh no, it's the beginning of the year and I haven't actually read the standards yet. So if that's you, let's see, we'll kind of go over here. And then we have this one. This is kind of how it applies. I love standards and curriculum. So on my hallway, it was like I knew there were standards. My friend down the hallway read the standards, but I don't really know that much about them. So maybe you have a little bit of experience with the standards. I'm going to stick this over here. Then we have, got my hand up. I've read the standards. I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on them. That would be number 3.
Is she talking
And
about just
number
standards
4,
in general or like the brand
I've
new
read the
ones?
new Oklahoma academic standards. We've already mapped them out, planned them. I was writing them. That would be a number 4. So we'll go down.
I'm a number 2. I got a pen too.
So our corners are, and I'm sorry, this room doesn't do very well for corners. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. So think about the experience. Hold on just a minute. I'll let you go in just a minute. Think about what experiences you've had with the new Oklahoma academic standards, and then go to that corner. And then I want you to just tell the group what experience you have and what you need from today. I mean, do we need to read them? Do we need to go over them? What do we need to do? Also, would you rather focus on ELA or math in particular? I have something for both. So if you will quietly find a corner, leave your stuff, and talk with the people in your corner about what experiences you've already had.
That's not, that's very
Well, I don't think I can count what I can read over.
Two is a few. So choose over here. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we usually at least have a few people on the side ready.
Like maybe I can become good enough.
Well, I'm moving to a new grade level, so I've read my new grade level.
We usually don't have that. Usually have a few people that are like, who got it? And then we kind of work together. Okay.
so cool.
No, I
was last year, now I'm moving to second. But I've taught third, so I have to find.
Okay, so I haven't had any sessions where I had this many people on the one or two sides. So just kind of give me an idea. You know we have them, correct? Making sure. There are some people really that have no idea. I think there are people who didn't know we went to Common Core in the first place, and they're still in class. So just making sure. So you have them. You've seen them. Okay. All right. So we just need to talk about them. You haven't planned with them or anything like that. Okay. All right. If you will go back to your spot, I have an idea. That's okay. That's fine. You're reading it. But if I had been before this started,
You mean we have new standards?
I knew they were there. I printed them out and I just kind of scanned them a little
Well,
bit.
that's good. I haven't even printed about. I haven't even cared. I'm like, wait. I didn't even think I was going to get in here because I thought, because I didn't even register till like last week.
You already know that I forget things all the time because we just have so much to do and so many little guys and so
My
much
teeth.
going on. Okay, give me a 1 or 2. If you could focus on something, would you rather 1 focus on ELA or 2 focus on math?
ELA.
Okay. Now, here's what I'm going to do. These standards are on the website. I have them standards and booklets, but I only was allowed enough for 1 session, so I need these back. So if you could please not take them, in that I lost a lot last week and had to order another box. Shamelessly stealing the standards. So, what?
I said shameless thieves, my goodness.
I mean, literally, I was talking to somebody and I saw some teachers come in, put their stuff down, and take all the books on the table.
No.
I knew. What? You have to ask the State Department.
Will they send us one?
Because, okay, this is what I'm being told, and the law is not my favorite part of this job. I think there is a law that says if it's available online, you're not here. You guys can pass this down. You're not supposed to spend money printing it. And also, we don't have a lot of fun money.
You don't have to print, like this is all of them.
I'm hoping that they will have them available. Also, because we've been traveling around for 2 weeks, we don't have enough room in the van either. So that's
Should have brought my glasses.
I can't see squat without mine anymore.
That's all I have. So if you have extras on your rows, you'll put them back.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so just to give you an overview, these are online, so you can print
Your
them.
concepts.
For ELA, I am on the ELA team as an early childhood person. Josh Flores is the director of secondary ELA. We had Michelle Sprague, who is so wonderful, and she was elementary ELA, and she has gone on to a different opportunity, so she is not with us anymore. So right now you're welcome to talk with either one of us about the standards. Just an overview. Standards are the state's responsibility. Having that organization, the curriculum is your district responsibility, but the standards are written so you have the freedom to tailor your instruction the way you want to do it. We of course had four standards in past. The new ELA standards they have 8. In past, if you've read it, there's lots of skills, lots of sub-skills. It's very long, it's kind of confusing, it tends to be repetitive. These are to be hopefully more concise. There are not as many skills, even though there are 8 standards. So just to look through the book and what you're looking at, then I'm going to switch up into some groups. If you will flip to page 9 and 10, it has the standards in the blue lines. So standard 1 is speaking and listening. Standard 2 actually has 2 pieces, reading foundations and the reading and writing process. 3 is critical reading and writing, 4 vocabulary, 5 language, 6 research, 7 multimodal, which we'll talk about, that's one of my favorites, and 8 is independent reading and writing. We know that reading and writing support one another. If you're going to be a better reader, you need to be writing. If you want to be a better writer, you need to be reading. So in each one of the standards, it has a reading component and a writing component. These standards are not meant to be a checklist. Like I teach speaking and listening, check. I teach this, check. The only exception for me is in the reading foundations are your phonics skills, and obviously those have to be taught in a systematic manner. So reading foundations, otherwise we want to integrate those. If you flip to, if you go to the next page, it has the same graphic, talks about reading and writing. And then standard one, just so you can see, we'll go back. Just so you can see how the page layout is, we're speaking and listening. It tells you kind of your overall reading and writing. On the page, you've got your standards over here, and then you've got objectives here for each grade level. So you can see. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to split us up as best I can. I really do not like this format, but I'm going to split you up into 8 groups as best I can. And I'm going to give you each a standard. Your group is standard. And I want you to look over it. And then after 3 or 4 minutes, I want you to just tell the group, give me a 30-minute overview of your standard. And then also talk about how it starts in pre-K and how it builds. What? You said 30-minute overview. I'm sorry, 30 seconds. Right, I'm sorry. Right, you are welcome to sing it here. I'm lunch. Just give me a 30-second overview of the standard and just talk about how it builds. Like in pre-K, it starts here, but they build on one another. And it's very logical when you think about where we start in pre-K as to when we get up to first and second grade. Okay, so.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Okay, the people that were in that corner back there,
Yes.
they were back there because they have gotten their curriculum out and have put the standards with their curriculum?
I believe so.
Okay.
And of course, Ann is like the leader of early childhood in her district, right?
Yeah, we this summer have been working with, we met with math and ELA, like this summer we went ahead and met with teacher leaders from each grade level and went ahead and made our Marzano scales for each standard. And so we looked at what does the very beginning look like, what does on level look like, what does above level look like. So we kind of dissected them that way this summer.
And we are working on systems, although I wish they were together where if like Norman wanted to share that with us, we could all put it in one place, but I'm not sure those systems are just in place. But we would like to get to a point where any district that's willing to share it, we have it in a place so everybody can look at it. So that is the goal as we implement this year. Okay, so let's try to get into this.
I don't need to be the leader. That's good with me.
Dorla, are you our leader? No, I don't remember that.
Why did you guys not write?
I was having fun.
I guess that'd have been Candace or you. Who's responsible for the first grade? Candy, did you get all yours done? First grade?
What else she just said? Why did you guys not?
Okay. Who in this area could get together? If you all kind of get together, you can. So 1, 2, 3. Could you all do 3? Do you all think right here? Could you make a little group and be 4?
These 3.
Standard 4?
And
Yes.
Are you with them?
It doesn't matter to me. Or wait, could you all? Yeah. So what are we on? 1, 2, 3.
We're just, how many do you want in the group? Okay.
Whatever is easiest.
And we'll be 4?
I wish we were in groups. 4.
Okay.
Okay. Do you all want to be 5 right here?
Keep on looking at. Turn around to your group.
Okay, so we're 4.
Vocabulary. Vocabulary.
What page are you on?
45.
Okay, 4.
45.
Okay.
Vocabulary.
Okay, so, well, that's easy, right?
So we just.
Well, in pre-K, they acquire new grade level vocabulary, new words to prior knowledge with guidance and support. Students will acquire allowance.
Turn my chair around. I cannot. We have a cord, we can't turn it around.
Understanding the parts of the book. Understand what's happening. See, and then right here, first grade, seeing this first grade, who the author is, who the author is. Wow.
So starting in first grade, they're supposed to start using a dictionary.
Starting in first grade.
They're supposed to use a dictionary to print or find.
So we're just gonna, like, just go across on one, like here, like read this, and then give her a 30-minute on that.
Well, in first grade, they start talking about.
Are we supposed to do this all the way through,
No,
or what are we doing? Just
it's only 30 seconds, so it can't be too long.
Okay, so when you're done, give me
Well,
just a
basically
30-second
what they're
overview.
saying
Maybe
is
tell me how it
kids
builds
learn
from it starts in pre-K, and then how does it get more complex?
by being familiar with words.
They learn them in pre-K. They use
Building on
them.
their own knowledge of what they already have, and then it progresses from there into like maybe words they don't know that come up in text, and you know what I'm saying? Like in pre-K, it's very basic.
Yeah, but then it turns
They
into writing.
learn, they learn vocabulary.
Turns into
In
It turns
kindergarten,
into
they
actually
use
writing
vocabulary,
their own.
understand it, and in first grade they
they're starting
write
to read and write it.
and use it.
It's connected to prior knowledge.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
That's my.
You were
Well, you're gonna
She's
do it.
standing, she's
that sounds
That's
really
my
good.
snapshot.
And then manipulating it, like comparing, contrasting, finding the cause and effect sequentially.
It's almost like they talk.
I just said
they're learning.
they have to learn it.
Like
They have to
prior
use
knowledge
it.
is a lot here,
And they
and
have
then
to
they're
like.
learning to
They have to
and
apply
then
it.
they're
Yeah, but they use context clues and even in pre-K, so
Yeah, but
students will
they're
name
still
and sort familiar
they're
objects.
still learning it.
Right, right.
but they're not
Like
reading
it's-
it yet.
No.
No,
And then I guess
it
kindergarten.
just says develop an awareness of,
So you could talk.
No, in first
No, I'm
Because
not.
you got a little bit better than I did.
No,
I was a little too simple.
no, I'm not doing it. I'm just reading aloud.
What?
What was that? I didn't so much.
Something about pages.
Students will begin to develop an
Well, I thought it
awareness
was like
of context clues through read aloud. Students will name and sort pictures of objects into categories.
Okay, let's spend about 2 more minutes, and then we'll
develop
submit.
and awareness, and then in first grade it's use.
Yeah, used it.
Use it. Develop the awareness, use it.
So it's kind of like.
Well, and they even start putting those words into complete sentences. You know, like they said, that's when they start putting their complete sentences together.
We do that in kindergarten.
Yeah.
So they learn it,
Become aware of
practice it,
it,
and use it, and then they use it in every.
practice, and then use it.
You want to talk?
No, you're doing a really good job.
You're an excellent leader.
Whatever. I'm just a talker.
I don't speak children, I don't care. In front of adults.
It's just because.
I mean, like if it's my friends, I'm okay, but I get a little bit shy.
I may leave just a couple minutes early for classes over because I'm not even
Doing silly
funny.
stuff with my staff, but with adults.
That's all right.
I think our day would go way smoother if we started out with a glass of wine like Kathy Lee and Hoda.
That what?
Like Kathy Lee and
And
Hoda.
I'm gonna have each group just tell everybody
Yeah, I think it would.
what they learned about their standards. So we're gonna start with group number 1, and
is
their
vodka.
standards reading and listening is on page
Crystal Light.
13. So, we just go
We need that around noon.
just a little
That'll get us through the rest of the day.
If we start out smooth, the rest of the day will be a breeze.
Yeah, that's true.
So where did you see it starting in pre-K?
Well, pre-K, we're giving them support and guidance, and we're building off that to where we, work up
probably not something you're gonna see on a report card, but if you'll notice how they build, it is so important that we're still teaching skills today with guidance and supports. Because you know, and I say this all the time, if you're not doing your job, nobody else can do anybody else's job. We really aren't supposed to we start them off. So make sure that even though it says with guidance and support, it is important. And I like what you said, in pre-K for speaking and listening, you're really just figuring out how to answer and ask questions and how to collaborate with others in a meaningful way. So when you get to first grade, you're doing more group work and more collaboration, to where when you get to third grade, you're actually doing presentations together. So you can't do that later if you haven't learned in pre-K kindergarten how to ask questions and answer and speak to another person appropriately. So that is speaking and listening. Of course, this is a good example. That's what you all were doing in this group. Okay, thank you very much. So number 2 has 2 pieces. So the first piece is reading foundations on page 19. So somebody here want to talk about reading foundations?
Basically, it's the phonics aspect of it, and what we talked about is in the pre-K stage, they're repeating, a lot of it's oral, they'll repeat back to you, repetition, and then up until, it goes up to like basically first grade, and then we're reviewing it. And in first grade, they're breaking everything apart, and so it's building on everything, and it just gets more difficult and progresses on.
Right.
And you put it down on paper, and that's.
Okay, that's fine. So basically, reading foundations is your phonological awareness, print concepts, phonics and word slang fluency. This would be the more systematic, not checklist so much because you keep reviewing, but you're gonna start with your short vowels and then move on from there. Also, I wanted to mention on this one, like on phonological awareness on page 20, if you notice, that still stops after first grade. So it is extremely important in early childhood that we're setting that foundation. And it says you need to continue to review, but several of these reading foundations stop after the early childhood years. Because that is where you're going to learn those skills.
early childhood.
The second piece of that is page 27, and it's the reading and writing process. One teacher mentioned that this is the application of those skills. The application of your print concepts, of your, decoding that type of activity. Basically, in pre-K, you're doing your shared readings together. You're talking about the text. You're writing with, with your drawings as you get to kindergarten first. You know that you read starting with the left, going across, decoding. With writing, you're doing the writing process of the pre-writing, the writing, the revising, the publishing. That's what the reading, writing process is about, just those processes. Understanding the parts of the story, fiction, nonfiction. I meant to mention, because I had a little discussion with the teacher about sight words. Sight words are in reading foundations. Vocabulary standard is different than sight words. So that is this. So reading foundations are very, very important. Well, actually 1 and 2 I think are very important for early childhood. All of them are important, but those oral language foundations and those reading foundations are so important. Because hopefully we're not in 10th grade having to explain how you speak to another person's language. Hopefully that has been established. Okay, so number 3, the critical reading writing. Is that you all? Okay, let's just talk about that one. That is on page 33. Okay, so what did you find out about critical reading and writing?
In pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, you start out with just a lot of facts, like who's the author, and then and it's very oral based, and then it goes to first grade, and they have to start concluding information from the text for themselves, and then adding more vocabulary and things like that as you get up through 3rd and 4th grade. And the writing after first grade, in first grade, the different types of writing are introduced, narrative, informative, and opinion, and then it just continues to get harder.
So for critical reading and writing, in the reading component, they're able to identify and find evidence of the different parts of the story, and they're starting to put those parts in their writing. That's how those two go together. This is more the analyzing, coming up. But yes, first grade, I think first grade's very, that's what I taught mostly. That's when you start the narrative, the information, and the opinion writing also. Okay, and then number 4, vocabulary.
In pre-K and kindergarten, they're kind of being introduced, well, and in first grade too, to new words, what they mean, and possibly how to use them through context clues. As you get up, you are using them, but you are adding more to the words, learning more about the words, not just specific one words, but using them in writing.
Yes.
It's where you would have your synonyms and homonyms and different types of words to use in your writing. And then in writing, it's just the kind of the same as using that vocabulary that you've used, that you've learned to use in your writing.
Yes, and this really talks about academic vocabulary, not the vocabulary you would normally have in a classroom, but the academic vocabulary. We had talked about some strategies, because I think this is tricky in early childhood. When I would read a big book, I would cover up some of the words with Post-it notes, and they would have to figure out what the word might be just based on the context clues instead of using the letters. And then we slowly uncover and see if it matched. Somebody was telling me they have a fancy Nancy wall with boas, and so when they have fun words, we call them sparkly words in our classroom, they would put them on the wall with a picture and that kind of thing. Any science or social studies themes that you're doing, post the words, talk about the words, refer to those words. That would be academic vocabulary. And then one aspect of both standard 3 and 4 is the aspect of complex texts, which is embedded in the standards. That can be scary. I've had some early childhood teachers that get really nervous about that. I brought some examples. I think of Stella Luna as a pretty complex text. It's fun to read, but really they need a little bit of background knowledge about bats before they can really understand what's going on in this book. It also has some higher level vocabulary, and there's some different complex plots going on in the story. They love to listen to it, but just like you're not going to get stronger unless you lift heavier weights, they're not going to become better readers and writers unless you're having them listen to those more difficult texts. So if you're early childhood and they're not reading on their own, you're reading it to them and you're discussing it and you're thinking through it. If you're first or second grade, I mean, you don't want to always do it, but you want to make sure that if you're reading with them, maybe in reading groups, that you're picking a text every once in a while that's a little bit harder, that they're going to struggle with, and that you're going to have to read a few times, because that really will make them stronger readers. I joke that I thought I was a pretty intelligent person before I came to the State Department, and then I read these documents with these acronyms. I mean, I have no idea some of them what they're talking about because I don't have a lot of background. So, you know, and I joke that they haven't yet. They haven't given me the blow level just yet, even though a day may be coming when I ask enough questions. I'm just like, here, Sharon, take this. But they sit down, they give me background knowledge, they explain what these things mean. I still have to read them a few times, circle it, make notes, look things up. But eventually, now that I've done that several times, it's getting a lot easier. Same thing is going to happen for your students. So make sure that you're reading those complex texts in your classroom. Okay, so that's vocabulary. So number 5, language. You all have number 5? Sorry, in the middle, 5.
Okay, it looks like it's just grammar and parts of speech. In pre-K, it starts out very concrete, and then they have to start recognizing the different parts of speech, and then eventually they have to start using it and writing with it, and knowing what it is, knowing how to use it.
And it's if your pre-K kindergarten is so important that you really work on classifying those words, because then when you come to first grade and we have to start putting labels like nouns and verbs, but they already have all those experiences, putting those words into groups, it's going to be so much easier for them, and then putting in their writing. Okay, very good. So language is really just the grammar aspect. Complete sentences, classifying words. Okay, number 6.
We have research, and so with research, in pre-K, just really thinking about being able to recognize what are sources, where can they get information, and then as they grow in that skill, being able to find very specific information and write about it and tell about it.
Yes, and we've talked about in different sessions, I mean, putting a chart up, a diagram. In the frameworks, I worked with the pre-K writers, and we did an activity where you take pictures of the school workers. and post those and talk about, oh, you know, if I have a cut, where would I go to get information? Just so they're getting the idea that I have a problem or I have a question and I need to go somewhere to get my information. To me, that's kind of the basis for research in early childhood. And then, of course, as you get older, they're going to have to use that in their own writing and to gather information. Okay, this one's my favorite. It's multimodal. Okay, what did y'all think about multimodal?
Taking the language everywhere. We're pulling it in from every place that they're gonna see letters, sounds, words, whatever you make of it. And I said 35 years ago, we didn't worry about digital print, because that didn't mean anything to your early childhood. But now you hand your phone to your preschooler to say, find out this word.
I've been reading about tech, because I think technology in early childhood is a very tricky subject, because I think it takes a balance. I don't feel like it should be totally digital. On the other hand, I do feel like they need to understand that you can get information from an iPad or from digital, but it is tricky. But really, multimodal means you're using more than one mode. So it could be digital. It could also be a poster. It could be a pamphlet. It could be, we talked about using puppets. I think that's, you know, you're using your language, but you're using a puppet. You're acting out. You're using different modes to communicate. So I really like that. I'm going to show you an example if I did that in my classroom, but I like this one because I like the presentation or using an app or making a video and sending it to another class about what we've learned or something like that. Okay.
The early childhood calendar that is going to be keeping up with the modalities as they come into play. 3.5 decades ago, I would have never dreamed in early childhood that I was going to be seeing people use devices like we're seeing now that shows. And I don't think this is digital. I think, you know, like puppets, they were play. It was a therapy. It wasn't about language. It was, but we didn't know that.
Right. You're doing it right.
It's amazing.
I really think that early childhood philosophy should be, and I read the two pushed out, because I really think most of the problems that our people have relate to foundation. See what early childhood people do with integration and talking, and I think that is a lot of people's problems. But anyway, okay, so standard 8.
Looking at trying to cover a book and deciding whether I like to read it and listening to the teacher and I'm interested in the story and to, as you grow older, being able to pick out it because I need to know this information.
Yes.
Or even writing to certain audiences instead of writing because I like this. Actually, kind of goes from personal preference to need.
Yes, I think that was a beautiful way to describe it. At the beginning, you just want them to show interest. I want to go to the writing center. I want to go to the reading center. To where, when you get into first grade, they're starting to select appropriate text for independent reading and writing. Okay, anybody have any questions? Does that give you a better overview of what the standards look like and maybe how they would work? So this was just a picture of my class. These are my friends reading their narrative writing to 4th graders. So of course, just talking about how did they learn? Well, we've read a lot of narrative books. We broke it down. They started writing narrative stories. This is just Scarborough's rope. It's the basis for the standards. We want to do all of these, but these are those reading foundations. We want those to become automatic so that as they get older, you can get more and more strategic and complex with these. There's just a page where we talked about that. Okay, so the standards really have major concepts and connecting concepts. So your major concepts are going to be your essential standards that really need to be focused on, especially with your strugglers. And then the connecting concepts, which can be bundled with the major concepts to create cohesive lessons. So these would be your, I would say that if you only could teach certain standards, your reading foundations, critical reading, writing, vocabulary, language are very important. These, still important, but can be bundled. So we have speaking, listening, research, multimodal, and independent. So I'm going to show an example of something we did, and we can talk about how we bundled the standards. Now, to give you some context, this is a higher child, I say, in my first grade class, and we were talking about opinion writing, and we were working on book reviews. So we actually watched those book reviews at the end of the Reading Rainbow, and then we made an outline of what information they gave us. So once we had an outline, they had to pick a book and do one on their own.
I am Albert Einstein. I like this book because I like to learn, study, make good choices because Albert made good choices. When Albert was born, the book said Albert had a big head. When Albert was 4, he was sick. His dad gave him a compass. Albert loved it. Read this book to find out more. B.
Okay, so that was just an example, and I will tell you, he was a higher kid. I had another one that read a book called Brothers, one of those little pebble books, and it was literally, I read Brothers, it was easy for me to read, I have a brother, read this book, very simple. So that's a good example of differentiating. I taught the same skill to everybody, but they were able to modify it for their own levels. But if you look, I mean, we were speaking and we were listening, we were critically reading. He critically read his book. He had to think about his favorite part. He had to think about why it was his favorite part. Looking through the book, we made it multimodal. That's an app called Chatterpix, if anybody's used it. But you just take a picture and then hit next, and then they draw a mouth and hit record, and he was just reading his writing. I had checked it. He had read it to me. We got an app. He put it in there. Obviously, he's using his language. He had to use complete sentences. He read that book independently. It was a book they had to read independently. So hopefully that's a good example of how we blend those standards together. We weren't just focusing on one. We put all of those together. Okay, and then we had talked about text complexity. Picking, a higher level book. All right. Any other questions about ELA? Does that give you a good kind of a starting point of where to put it? So I'm just going to spend the last 10 minutes, and I would just want to show you something about math. So we talk about why do we love reading? Anybody? Why do we love reading? Learning. Those experiences that we have. Now, when you read, you know that you had to sit down and do some lessons about phonics and letters, but ultimately, the goal is that you're going to get to sit down and read a book. So I picked these books because Hungry Caterpillar was my favorite. My dad was a master Fox and Socks reader, so he read that to us when we were kids. And Brown Bear was the book my kids were able to read to me independently when they were little for the first time. So that's what we think about with reading. We don't always think about that in math. We don't always think about math as fun experiences. We think about it as sometimes torture. So anyway, and I like math, but I don't know how your classroom is, but we don't think, oh yay, we get to learn our addition facts or whatever. So these are just some experiences. I mean, we're making pattern block designs here. In first grade, we had an economic literacy component in our social studies where they had to understand buying and selling and saving money. So we actually had it was a bake sale. We called it a bake sale. It was really peanut-free, individually wrapped snacks. We called it a bake sale. But they brought them to school and they had to make a poster advertising their snacks. We had other kids in the school come in. Everything was 25 cents. The other kids could bring quarters or dollars. We talked about, if they give you $1 and they only want 2 items, how much do you give them back? So those experiences make math so much more exciting. We understand why we're learning math, why Miss Morgan makes us count every day. And of course, math and science work together very well. This is just the water drops on a coin activity where they had to count. So be thinking in your classroom about those kinds of activities. Is anybody in here do number talks in your classroom? Okay, I was going to show you one of those. For math implementation, I have been trying to work with both since early childhood. Does both. Robin Glinsman is our director of elementary math. She's wonderful. And Levi is secondary math, so they are all working together. So the math standards are written again, so we're doing the processes. Kind of like reading, we integrate those together. We want to integrate math processes, the fluency, the problem solving, the communicating, the making models, reasoning through the problems. Excellence in mathematic education requires equity, high expectations. I don't know if you do this. We struggled in our grade level to make math equitable. I knew how to do that with reading because I knew how to do centers. I knew how to pull groups. I was pretty good at that. Math we struggled with. And I don't know if this is helpful, but I had my class split up into 3 groups by abilities. And we did math with the teacher, where I taught the lesson. I didn't even really do a whole group lesson. We did math with the teacher. They did math with a partner, where I had dice games and card games. And then they had math with technology, where they would be on iPads doing apps. So we would rotate through, and I would just really teach the lesson at teacher table. That way I could do the same lesson, but I could do different supports. So my higher kids, we could just go through it and do more problem solving. My lower kids, we might have to do more pictures and thinking through. Also, explore new ways that stimulate curiosity, problem solving, real world problems, and technology, putting technology piece in there. So when you look at this, how many dots do you see? How did you see that? Oh, wait, here. So somebody said 5 and 4, and I heard 5, 3, and 1. Did anyone see it in a different way?
You could do 5, 2, and 2, really.
Yes. Somebody saw 3, 3, and 3, which hurt my brain. I don't get that one. I mean, I think I did. I saw these 3, this one, and these 5. So this is just an example of a number talk. There is a book called Number Talk. You can also get them at Teachers Pay Teachers if you need some ideas. Where we would come in, we did our little calendar, we do a number talk where I'd have something like this up, and we talk about how did we see it. Well, you saw 5, 3, and 1. Does that still make 9? Somebody else saw 5 and 4. Another example for a higher level would be something like this. David bought a box of 24 popsicles. If he ate 2 every day, how many days would it take him? Let them struggle with that for a little bit, and then start talking about strategies. How'd you figure that out? What would we have to do? And then, after we've gotten some strategies, extend it. What if he had 30 popsicles? So you're communicating, you're using strategies, you're really building those fluency processes. Okay, I wanted to show, I thought this was a great example of a number talk in a kindergarten.
Five. What did you see, Jen? 5. What about you, Alex? 5. What did you see? 5. Somebody see it another way? Alex, how did you see 5? If you add 1 more, that will make 6. Right. If you add the bottom by moving, oh, if all the bottom was filled in, it would be 10. How did you know, DJ, it was just 5? You said 5 also. How did the other side? The bottom is not filled in. Okay, what about the top? They're all filled in. If the top is all filled in, how many? 5. It sounds like nobody had to count. Because 5 equals 10, but if you minus 5 from 10, you get 5. Okay.
And the other ones, they might not understand that, but they're starting to think about, what was he doing? 5 plus 5, what does that mean? So they're starting to think.
Jocelyn, what did you see? 7. 7. What did you see, Arjun? 7. 7. 7.
And she didn't tell them they were wrong either. Some of them were wrong.
Because the top was filled in and 2 more would make 7. So how did you think about that? The top was filled in. And 2 more would make 7. So you knew that was how many? 5. And 2 more make 7. Did you say 5 and 2 is 7, or did you say 5, 6, 7? Yeah. No, 5 and 2. Did you think of it a different way? If it's the same thing, then if you had 1 more, that would be 8, and if you had 2 more, it would be 10 if you put 3 away.
Gosh.
Not that kid in there. He's making everybody think.
Let's do 1 more then. Oh, I had lots of different numbers that time. Tell me what you were saying, DJ. Because both of those are the same. They are. They're the same, don't they? Because it's more because they have 2 of them. Okay. Show me how you found 6. Because that If you have one without a chair, it would be 7.
She's making him think through the problem.
How'd you figure it out? I counted in my head.
You did? Did you start over here and just count them 5? You did? Did anybody else see it a different way? Brandon, what did you notice?
I've seen 5s on that for a long time, so I know it was 5 and 5 and 10.
Okay, so you recognized that was 5. Where have you seen that that's 5? How do you know that that's 5?
Because I've played lots of games before at my house,
What kind of games?
like Yahtzee games and stuff like that.
Okay, so where do you see the dots like this? that make
When
that?
I get a 5.
On what? On the dot. Okay,
So you can integrate those games into your classroom also.
Okay, you ready for another one? Ready? You counted them? Okay, you counted them. DJ? Okay, you have one more right here, what would it be? 6. So it almost looked like 6, but it was missing 1. Did you see that too, Kristen?
If you ask him what that one is,
Yes. Right. You recognize that. You recognize that? How did you know?
because I've seen her like that on other days.
Oh, come show us what you mean by you see 4. Where's 4?
Right there.
Oh, okay, go sit down so I can show everybody what you mean. He said he saw this part that looked like 4 on a dice. And then what did you do? So you said 4.
And then I put one more in that.
Could Richard Boyd please come to the registration desk? Thank you.
No, if you put one in the middle, that means I would know it was 5.
Oh, so you would be, wow. That would be 5, okay. That's another good way of looking at that. Move the dots. You kind of do that in your head.
So that's a good example of a number talk. And she was talking about subitizing there, which is of course understanding the number without having to count it.
We have a couple lessons lined up for you. The first one is about rack and rack. So this is a rack and rack.
So an essential component of our math skills, I don't know that the math skills are that much different than they were before. And that being said, how we want to teach them with those processes, and we're communicating, and we're talking about different strategies, that's really at the heart of the math. So anybody have any questions? Otherwise, I'll let you have lunch. Yes.
What was the classroom, was it a first grade or?
I'm sorry, that was a kindergarten classroom.
That was doing the numbers,
Mhm.
cards.
Yes, that was
So you
kindergarten.
also done it pre-K, but.
Yes, yes. Yeah, but I like how she did, she made them figure out when they were wrong, she had them come up with strategies, she talked about the different strategies. Okay, so if you guys would please give back my standards booklet and put them in this box. And thank you so much for coming. Oh, sorry.
Do you just Google that or look on YouTube for that number talk for?
She mentioned Teachers Pay Teachers too.
Oh, sorry about the
The number talks.
Oh, here's mine.
Oh, thank you.
Hello?
No, you're fine.
No, you're fine.
Not you, ask the State Department. I mean, you can print them off the website.
I have printed them off there, but I'm just wondering how you could get them like more of a.
Yeah, I think we have people that are emailing the State Department asking for them, and I don't know what they're gonna do with that as far as budget.
Well, it's not worried about, I mean, you can print them off in your own
Right,
classroom or in your own school, but I was just wondering, how they got it so
Oh, we have,
organized like
there's
that.
graphic people that do that and printers that
That
do
turned
that.
out nice because
Yes.
ours were put on sheets and they were, anyway,
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy them as much, but I did take mine since I'm doing first and second. I took the standards off both of them and put them together so I could see them.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Oh, and I think, are you talking about just the vertical alignment? Is that what you were talking about?
Actually, I took actually
'cause I
just
think
copied and
Can't get it.
pasted and put them together
Oh,
to
I
make
was gonna say.
first, second.
It should be on the website like this.
Yeah,
I mean, in the,
you can get them in this order as you say.
oh, gotcha, but
ours
it's easier
is
for you.
in regular papers, and I just wanted, and I didn't want to go through all that, I just wanted first and second, so I cut and pasted.
So you a mixed classroom?
I do. Yes.
Is that good?
I
I've read about
don't
that.
know.
Oh,
Let
you
me
haven't
tell
done it?
you, I haven't done that yet. But somehow I've got to figure out, I'm assuming to me it's going to be like, different levels. So
Right,
I'll
right.
just try to, I cut and paste so I could see the difference in them, so I could see if I could move,
Right.
when I'm teaching the lower level, teach this, and then, my higher levels. Try
Yeah. I subbed in a classroom like that one time, and she was the master. I mean, they were just all doing different things, but it's challenging.
Yes.
I mean, it's,
I know, I have also, well, most of us do that, and I had my pre-K kindergarten classes doing that with another teacher, and she just couldn't get the I mean, it just to me, I baffled her so much, it was scary, so I think they split it up.
I mean, you just have to get your procedures down. And I think it would be hard.